Okay guys, I'm here to go over the answers from Unit 1A in our 21st Century Reading book. You guys both posted your answers, which is great, but I would really like you to find time to talk about your answers. Now I know that might not be possible, but if you don't find time to communicate with each other, we're basically not in a class anymore. It's like one-on-one tutoring, that I'm tutoring Yume and I'm tutoring Simon, and you guys have nothing to do with each other. I didn't force you guys to work together this week because I put up the assignment late. And I know that when I was a student, I didn't really like having to work with other people. I prefer to work by myself, and I understand that feeling. So I'm not exactly sure if I'm going to force you to work together in the future, but I promise you that it's going to be easier for you guys to understand things if you do decide to work together to answer your questions instead of just answering them on your own and posting your own answers. It's easier to see your mistakes or your misunderstandings if you work with a partner. That's also difficult to do here, so we'll see what happens as the weeks go on. So anyway, page 14, getting the main ideas. The answers should be the only 3 sentences you should have checked are sentence 1, sentence 3, and sentence 4. So sentence 1 says it is important for young people to feel more engaged with nature. This means that young people should feel connected to nature. Swartzberg certainly talks about that in the article. It's one of his most important key points. Sentence 3, time-lapse can help people see the world from a different perspective. Again, I kind of hinted at this in our first assignment for this week, for last week, the discussion assignment, and finding out what time-lapse is and what is some time-lapse that you guys like. It shows people the world from a different point of view than the one that we normally have, either through taking pictures or just our day-to-day. Now, sentence 4 should be our last choice. People should always be curious about the world around them. Okay, this is kind of how he finishes up the topic in the reading, that curiosity is a good thing. Now, let's look at your answers. So Yume, no problem here. 1, 3, and 4. Simon, 1, 3, 4, and 5. 5 is not a main idea. So he does talk about anti-war movements when he was a university student, but it's not a main idea in his life now. So good idea, you caught a detail, but it's not a main idea. Just like in writing class with pi, point, illustration, example, the main idea is the point. War photography would only be down in the illustration or example section of this essay. It's not a main point, it's not a main topic. It's just an example of how Swartzberg got into photography in the first place. Looking at understanding reasons on page 14, the reasons should be as follows. Going down the page. C, D, E, B, in that order. Number 1 is C, number 2, D, number 3, E, number 4, B. It seems like both of you had a little bit of trouble here, but the key point here is connecting causes and effects. So the first sentence, Swartzberg specializes in photographing flowers. The answer is C. There's a connection here. I should be able to rewrite the idea and the reason as one sentence. So for example, Swartzberg specializes in photographing flowers because pollinating plants are beautiful and they are important for our survival. So this connects these two things. He likes taking photos of these flowers. We need to find out why. Oh, hi buddy, you can't be up here right now. So I connect the idea with a reason. The second one, Schwartzberg has cameras going continuously 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. D, because there's so little time and so many things to capture on film. Next, Schwartzberg is willing to deal with many challenges to capture his images. E, he wants to use time-lapse photography to change people's perspective. So the key point here is challenges and perspective, that he is willing to deal with difficulties in order to change people's point of view. Next, Schwartzberg believes colony collapse is the most important environmental issue. B, a lot of people... Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. So again, the last one is B. A lot of our most important food would disappear if there were no bees. So the connecting phrase here is colony collapse and bees. So in the first part of the sentence, colony refers to a bee colony. I hope that's all clear. If you have any questions, again, you can post it in the blog or send a message to each other. Moving on, we're looking at page 15 and the first section. You remember in my reading class last semester, some students found this a little bit confusing, but basically all that we are looking at here is PI, point, illustration, example. For example, in the first case, it says his process. So this is a main idea, right? If we were going to write an essay, it would be divided into 3 paragraphs. His process, his start, his beliefs. This is like reverse engineering of an essay. We could imagine that we had to write an essay about this person, and these would be the 3 main ideas that we have about them. Then we need to support the main idea by adding a detail. So in the first case, under his process, Yume has A and Simon has A and F, and Yume also has A and F. His start, B and D. Let's see, B and D, and his beliefs, C and E, and C and E. So you guys both agreed on the answers here, and that's a good thing, because you're all correct. A and F, B and D, C and E. So it seems like you didn't really have a problem with this section, and I'm glad to see that. I didn't make you fill in more details. It's not really necessary. It's just going to make a little bit of extra work, but some other things that I could say about his process is that he uses time-lapse, slow motion, aerial photography. He focuses on flowers. He uses survival techniques. His start, we could say he photographed anti-war protests. He learned about lighting, composition, color, and contrast. He began thinking about having a creative and sustainable life. His beliefs, I could also say, he wants to share how cool nature is. He feels it's important to involve young people in nature. He thinks that nature is interconnected with human beings. That's an interesting idea that if we had 15 weeks, I would take more time to explore, but we only have 5, so we're going to kind of skip past that. But one of his main points in this whole article is to show you that the world is interconnected, to show you that you are connected to nature and that nature is connected to you, and that all of us are. Even a city is part of nature because it came from the human mind. Before Tokyo existed, you can imagine maybe there was a mountain, some trees. Then humans got the idea to build this city. The trees were cleared, the mountain was leveled, the city was built. That is part of nature, because human beings come from nature. So one of his key points, one of his main theses in this TED Talk are about interconnection. And he uses time-lapse photography to show interconnection. I'm going to stop there and I'll be back in just a second. Okay, it looks like both of you had some difficulty with the paraphrasing section, and that's okay. This is just one of the problems of not being in a classroom together, is that I might miss some things before you guys get to them, or I may not be able to talk about them before you get to them. Paraphrasing means that I'm saying the same idea as an author, but I'm using different words to do it. Again, I'm saying the same idea as an author, but I'm using different words. So for example, number 1, he says, I've squeezed 35 years of shooting into 12 hours of material. What's the main idea here? What's the idea of this sentence? The idea is that it took him 35 years to create 12 hours of photography, video, etc. So what you need to do as the writer is try to say the same thing, but use different words. Simon wrote, I've prepared for 35 years for only 12 hours of video. Now that's a good start, but you can't use I've because you're not him, right? So you would say Schwartzberg worked for 35 years for only 12 hours of video. Maybe that could work. And it looks like Yume said, I have out together the films during 35 years into 12 hours of video. So again, it's close, but you shouldn't be saying I. You need to take the sentence from the chapter that Schwartzberg said and then say it in your own words, talking about Schwartzberg. So again, it should be something like, Schwartzberg produced 12 hours of footage over the course of 35 years of his life. Schwartzberg took 35 years to produce 12 hours of media. The second one, when you change your perspective, that's how you develop gratitude. So what's the key point here? The key point is that in order to understand thankfulness, I need to change my understanding of a situation. I need to see it differently. So let's see, Yume has, if you can find the real world of nature, you can change your appreciation for nature's supply. Good. I think that's pretty good. It captures the main idea and the point of view of the author. Simon, time-lapse can transform your consciousness by helping you see things from a different point of view. Again, this is really good, but it misses the gratitude point. So maybe I could add at the end of the sentence, this helps us feel more grateful for the natural world. Number 3, you keep getting the same things reinforced over and over. Simon wrote, I will improve my ski every more. I don't understand that sentence, Simon, or why you're talking about skiing. It has nothing to do with the main idea of the text. So what he's saying here is that I have the same opinions, the same ideas keep happening to me throughout my life. So the same main ideas keep occurring in his work. So we could say just that. I keep having the same themes occur in my life over the last 35 years. I've kept having the same themes occur in my life over the last 35 years. And Yume said, when I take shots, I always connect my soul with the universe. That's a good sentence, but it's only focusing on one of his main points. So I want to expand it to reflect all of his main points. Okay, I'm going to pause it again, and I'll be back with the next page. Okay, the next section is vocabulary, and you both had the same mistake, which worries me. It's always possible in an online course that one student will copy another student's work. If I post my assignment before Gumich, then maybe Gumich is going to just copy my assignment and post the same thing. I don't know how to solve that problem, except for say that you need to earn your own grade in this class, in all of your classes. So if you didn't do the work, don't copy somebody else. Just accept that you are where you are and you got the grade that you earned. This work isn't really graded yet, so there's no need to worry or stress about your answer. It's about learning. You can only learn by doing. You can't learn by mimicking somebody else. Now, I'm not saying that there was any copying. All I'm saying is that you both have the exact same mistake. And we don't want that to happen again, right? But seeing that you have the same mistake, maybe you both just misunderstood it in the same way. So I'm not saying anything negative. Let's just make sure that we do our own work. So the answer is in the vocabulary section. Number 1, challenges. Number 2, primarily. Number 3, illustrates. Number 4, specifically. The thing that you both missed are number 2 and number 4, because primarily and specifically have very similar meanings. Let me look down at, so number 2, the sentence says, experts suggest taking photographs primarily when the weather is overcast. And primarily here means mainly, so it means it's best to take it when the weather is overcast, but you don't always have to. If I were to say specifically, that could fit here. Experts suggest taking photographs specifically when the weather is overcast. But let's look down at the last one, number 4. Experts suggest looking for subjects in environments without any man-made structures that will interfere with the image. Specifically, they suggest finding locations where there are no fences, utility poles, or buildings. Now here primarily wouldn't work, because primarily means like a general rule, a rule of thumb, something we should usually do. Here they're giving you one very specific piece of advice. In the sentence number 2, it's a general statement that it's probably best to take photographs when the weather is overcast. And there's a number of reasons for that. There's many reasons that we could argue. But number 4 is talking about one thing. You should find a location where there are no fences, utility poles, or buildings. It's one piece of advice. They could add in a whole bunch of other ones. So specifically here is isolating one thing. Primarily doesn't have to refer to one thing. It just refers to something that is generally true in this case. Now, I know that still might be a bit confusing, and that's okay, because these two words really can usually be interchanged. Just in this case, it's better to use primarily followed by specifically. And our last assignment here is part B. And let's see, AAB, ABB, AAB, ABB, ABA. So a little mistake, Simon. The correct answers are AAB, ABB, AAB, ABB. I'm not going to talk about these because they are pretty self-explanatory. If you go on, reread them, or look up the words. If you do have questions, though, you can email me and we'll figure it out. So, looking at meaning from context. Number 1, what do you think Louis Schwartzberg means when he says, "I found my voice"? He found his dream because of his photography. He found he can really be into something as photography. Yeah, I think that both of you have a adequate answer there. They're both okay. It means that he found his life, right? He found his passion. My voice kind of means my passion. And this section is called Getting Meaning from Context. This means that we don't want to use our translator or dictionary. I want to just read the sentence and try to figure out what it means on its own. Number 2, what does Schwartzberg mean by a nature deficit disorder? Let's see. Okay. Again, it kind of seems like you both have the same mistake. not too bad. I think you're close to the main idea, but a nature deficit disorder only means that people don't get enough nature. Doesn't mean that we have to connect people with nature. So it's not telling us to do anything. The question is only asking about 3 words: nature deficit disorder. What do those 3 words mean? And what they mean is people are not connected to nature, or people don't experience nature enough. So the fact that you guys both have basically the same answer makes me worry that maybe somebody was looking at somebody else's answers and just kind of tried to move it around and change it. Please do not do that again. Do your own work, and when you finish, talk to each other about your answers. Don't just copy them, okay? I'm going to stop there for this video. It's been longer than I expected, and hopefully I can change the way that this works in the upcoming week. I'll stop there. I won't add anything else right now. I'll do that in a separate video. Bye. Good work.